So over the past few weeks I've been getting on with spraying the Phoenix graduates. They're currently hung up just out off camera. They're not quite finished yet. They've got their colour coats, they've got a couple of clear coats. I just need to do the last couple of clear coats. If you can see this behind me, we're currently showing 59% relative humidity, which is a little bit too high to spray nitro. I've already had to sand back on one of the other bodies that I'm doing and re-spray it to get rid of horrible blooming in the nitro because it was just too moist in the air. Basically, it's a bit of a nightmare if you haven't got a climate controlled spray booth, which I don't. There are plans in the future, but cost is somewhat prohibitive at the moment. However, I have been shopping and I have bought some thingies. I've had some custom decals made which can go on certain guitars. So the 4th Avenue logos that I have here, they're kind of to simplify my inlay a little bit. They're not going to go on these guitars, obviously these have already got the aluminium inlays. These will go on the Phoenix Black Swan models that I'm currently working on, which you may have seen on Instagram or Facebook, or I'm not sure where else they've been posted, but you might have seen them in the background in a couple of the spraying videos. If not, they currently look a bit like this. So it's a single pickup Esquire type single cut version of the Phoenix body, and they get a bolt on neck with an English U fretboard and a single piece mahogany neck, which is nice. I'm also doing a left-handed version of one of these, so if anybody's after a left-handed guitar, give me a shout. I'm going to quickly put this back up here, but the headstock logos that I've got are for that kind of guitar, so the next batch of graduates that I do will probably have the single piece neck and this type of logo as well, which kind of makes these a graduate plus with the fancy bits, just because I can. However, on the back of every headstock in the past I've always hand-built in York, UK, and then I've signed it and given it a number or a name, depending on whether the guitar's got a name or not. I like it, but it looks a little bit kind of shoddy and handwritten, because it is. So I've also got some little hand-built in York, UK logos, which they can go on the back of the headstock. These ones will go on every guitar. Now, I can put a link in the description to the company that made these for me. They're not cheap. I think they work out for, basically for a headstock logo and the hand-built in York, UK, they work out about £4 each, or £4 per guitar. And there are 44 guitars worth on this sheet, so I'll let you do the maths. But yeah, the initial cost is to create it's not really a stencil, it's more like tooling costs for creating it, and then after that it does reduce the cost a little bit if you get more. I don't think I'm going to make 44 guitars in the time it takes before they get bored of keeping that on file and get rid of stuff though, so I'll probably have to pay the same amount or more next time. Inflation's a bitch. But I need to get the graduates down and put these on the headstocks, so I'm going to bring one of them down, have a look as to where the best place on the headstock for them to go is, and then I think I'll just kind of slowly work out where they're going to go and then put them down. The good thing about these is they are dry rub. decals, so there's no water involved, there's no glue, there's no sticking or anything. It's that you take off the backing paper, put it where you're going to have it on the guitar, and rub it, and it will just stick. You can see the colour change as it peels away from the top paper, 'cause it's on the back of it, and once that's done, it's attached. I'm quite looking forward to seeing how these look. Still need to figure out about signing and numbering them, but I think I'm going to do that by hand still. Once that's on, all they're going to need is their final clear coats, and then they're ready for assembly. Which, that should be the fun bit. But as I say, I can't really spray clear coats today. I think the most I'd be able to do is a very light dust coat, which I need to do over these anyway, just to seal them and stop, just make sure nothing reacts, because it can do sometimes. But if you spray a very light dust coat, let it dry and seal it in with a couple of those, then you can usually spray over the top fine. If it goes wrong, I have to sand it all back off and start again, so let's hope that doesn't happen. But I think we should start with the red single cut, the black cherry. So all three guitars are now clear coated. I've given them a slightly heavier wet coat at the end, just to get rid of kind of orange peel texture and kind of give them a bit more of a shine. I'm not going for a full-on dipped in glass kind of mirror finish on these. If I was, I'd go through stages of wet sanding, flattening back the paint, the lacquer, and then buffing it to an insanely high gloss, which would involve quite a few grits of sandpaper and quite a few different grades of polish. However, what I'm going to do is polish them with two grades of polish. The first grade is currently on a shelf. The second grade is this fine compound, so I'm going to use medium then fine, and that will give me a really nice shine. I know it will give me a really nice shine because, as usual, I've tested the process on the black guitar, and it's out of shot at the moment, but it looks fantastic. You can still see all the grain, you've still got some texture because obviously it's the open swamp ash grain, but the shine is deep and fantastic. I've untaped the fretboard, and once I've finished buffing the other two guitars, I'm going to untape those fretboards, and then it's kind of fine tuning. What I need to do is go over the edge of the fretboards with a razor blade and just clean up any overspray that might have seeped under the tape, and probably roll the edges of the fretboard a little bit, because otherwise I'll be left with a kind of sharp edge between the unfinished part of the fretboard, which will get oiled, and the lacquer on the sides of the fretboard. But we're getting there. So I'm going to grab the Sunburst guitar and we're going to see how that buffs up. I'll be using my air sander with buffing pads on it, which the correct grade for the grade of polish I'm using. It's colour coded, it's great. See, the problem is, now that it's sprayed and buffed, and I need to assemble it all, I'm just going to have to put the scratch plate on, because it'll help protect a bit of an area of this now. Nothing to do with the fact that I just want to put it on and make it look cool. Honest. This has still got the protective plastic over it at the moment. However, we've got, what do we need? 6mm? Or are we 10mm? I think we're 6mm here. So let's get the right screwdriver. See, I've fitted threaded inserts into the body here, so this should just screw straight in place. Unfortunately, being slightly anal retentive, I have a tendency to try and do all of the screws so that the heads face in the same direction. It's a long running thing that I'm not really able to ignore. I like that. Basically, other than scraping the edge of the fretboard, this is now ready to start assembling. I think we'll have to figure out. At the moment, I've only got the hardware for one of these, not all three, because I'm not made of money and it's quite expensive. So feel free to vote in the comments as to which one I assemble first. I know which way I'm leaning, but let's see what your opinions are. Let me know.